Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're in the studio. We are live, so get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. Going to be talking about Benjamin Sesko and his injury. Just how serious is that? We've had a little bit of an update last night, so we'll be getting into that. And also, what does that mean for Manchester United, for Ruben Amorim, for the front three? Does it alter it at all? Does it change any plans? We'll be getting into that. We'll also be looking at the midfield situation. That is a massive hot topic at the minute. Are we going to make any signings in January? Are we going to change our midfield? Who is the long-term option? Are we going to go for Baleba, for Anderson, for Adam Wharton? I'm sure you've heard all these stories, but we're giving you any sort of updates on that front. So make sure, if you're not doing so already, you are hitting that subscribe button and give us a like and get involved in the chat. Right, let's talk about Sesko, because we had this story last night. We've picked it up from Nathan Salt, our mate, who's been on the channel quite a few times. We're going to have him on again soon. It says, Man United learn Benjamin Sesko injury fate after Star was forced off in Tottenham draw as Ruben Amorim's fears are realised ahead of busy fixture schedule. So it says here, United fear Sesko could be out for up to a month after limping off their injury against Spurs. We know what happened there. It says here, Daily Mail Sport, I mean, we could have picked anyone here because this was doing the rounds on a lot of papers, understands that while United have not put a fixed timescale on the 73.7 million summer signings return, sources are anticipating it could be at least 3 to 4 weeks out. With Sesko only arriving this summer, his bounce-back ability from injury is a relative unknown to United staff, and the hope is that the 22-year-old responds positively to treatment and can return. At the moment, Brian Mbeumo, Amad Diallo and Nusayr Mazraoui lead. I think that should say leave for the Africa Cup of Nations, so as not to leave Amorim too short changed in attack. So just having a look at the minute. Before I'll have a look at that, I'm just getting some of the comments. Good to see Maurice Marshall, Akash K, Mick Holohan, JB, Danny Sabbath, Real Recognised Real, all in the chat. So if we look at the fixtures, we know we've got Everton, haven't we, on Monday night. So next Monday we play Everton, 8 o'clock at Old Trafford. We'll be covering that one. I'll be at the game. We'll be leading up to the game, probably towards the end of this week, previewing it, and then obviously we'll have the watch-along on the night. So we've got Everton on the 24th. Then you've got Palace away. That's a tough game now, isn't it? Palace away is a real tricky one. On the 30th, then you've got West Ham at home. Allo is at West Ham on the 4th of December. Wolves away on the 8th. And Bournemouth at home on the 15th. So let's say if it is 4 weeks from now, you could potentially miss 5 games. You might not miss that many. You might be back for West Ham. But worst case scenario, it's looking like he could miss those 5 games. That's worst case scenario. So don't quote me on that as being, that's what he's going to miss. That's literally the worst it could be. Hopefully he'll be back well before then. And some of those games, like Wolves, West Ham at home, Bournemouth at home, it's a bit harder in it, Bournemouth. They've been doing well, to be fair. But certainly the West Ham game and the Wolves game, you'd want him back for them, because I think he could do bits in those games as well. And that could help him as well, get a few more goals, he's not say his confidence. I don't think his confidence is taking a knock, but maybe just silence some of the critics. So it is a little bit frustrating. Sesko, I think he's had a decent start, but he has had some criticisms. 2 goals in the Premier League. It's not like he's set the world alight, but he has contributed. And let's not forget that some players take a long time to start scoring in the Premier League. So he's done okay. And I like what I've seen so far. It's just annoying that he's got this injury, and I feel for the lad as well. Especially when you go back to that Spurs game where he missed that chance, he gets injured. With that 10 men, it's almost like everything that could go wrong did within that sort of 10, 15-minute spell. It reminded me of Sevilla at home a few years ago under Eric Ten Hag. I remember we were 2-0 up, and then all of a sudden it's 2-2, and Lisandro Martinez was out for the rest of the season. It just everything went wrong. Felt a little bit like that for Benjamin Sesko during that game. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Harry Hatchell says, Jay, feeding my newborn baby in Melbourne while listening. Good morning, Harry, and congratulations on having a newborn. Real Recognises Real says something that I completely agree with here. The criticism has been proper, unfair, in my opinion. Yeah, when you look at some of the narrative around Benjamin Sesko, it's almost like people were waiting and hoping that he'd fail or that he wouldn't do what he was meant to do. And some of the criticism sort of started early doors. There was the game against Grimsby where he didn't take a penalty till later on, and some people going, why is he not taking a penalty? And this is until I think he was the last to take a penalty. And then it came out that he actually had a bit of cramp. That's why he was told, well, you can wait. And then he did take it and he did score. So it's not like he didn't contribute. Then obviously people looking at going, when's he going to score in the Premier League? Then he does that, scores in back-to-back games, and people going, oh, is he doing enough? Some people even going, oh, should we have let Rasmus Højlund go? Rasmus Højlund hasn't set the world alight Napoli. He's done okay in fits and starts, but he's had a few dodgy games if you listen to the media that are covering Napoli. So I just think that there's almost been this clamour from certain sections of the media, pundits, ex-players, to sort of jump on Benjamin Sesko and label him a flop or criticise him when it's a little bit unfair. It is frustrating that he's injured. We want him back in this team sooner rather than later. We want him performing week in, week out. Now, the good thing, if you can call it a good thing, about this at the minute, we do have options. Yes, we don't have many other strikers. In fact, you could argue we haven't got any. Joshua Zirkzee he's more of a 10. I know he says he's a 9.5, but I think he's a 10 really. Chido hasn't been getting any minutes this season. It looks like the club have gone, look, we probably rushed him in a bit too soon last season. Let's just take a step back. However, you can play Cunha up front. You can play Brian Mbumo up front as your number 9. It's a different type of player than Benjamin Sesko, but you can do that. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. You could even play Bruno as a false 9 if you wanted to. I don't think we will. But there are options there. So it's not the end of the world in terms of what Manchester United can do. And let's not forget as well, Benjamin Sesko doesn't always start. He didn't start at one of the biggest games of the season, Liverpool away. He didn't start that game and we won. So it's not the end of the world for Manchester United and Benjamin Sesko, the fact that he could miss all these games. It's just a little bit frustrating because the games are coming thick and fast. One other positive to this, as it's mentioned in Nathan Salt's article, we are going to lose players for the AFCON. We are going to lose 2 key attackers in Ahmad and Brian Mbumo. So we need Sesko back for that. And I think it's around the 15th that players start travelling to the AFCON, maybe a little bit earlier. So we need him back for those games because yeah, it's going to be difficult losing someone like Mbumo. Losing him, to be honest with you, I don't even like singling him out because you go, losing Mbumo, player of the month, all the rest of it. But Ahmad's been very, very good. Mazraoui's been very good. Mazraoui's been an absolute bargain. I don't say that very often about Manchester United signings. He's a player as well that can play the back three, that can play as a wing back, that can operate in vital positions in that team and always puts in a good performance. So that's going to be a massive loss, as is Ahmad and is Brian Mbumo. So we need other players to step up and hopefully Benjamin Sesko can get back into the team, be fit, raring to go and contribute. I'm going to get into some of the comments. Commenter says, well done, Jay. Well done on your sleep out, Jay. Thank you. Raised about 1,650 quid, which is fantastic. Smashed through the target, smashed from what we earned last year. So I really appreciate it. It was wet and windy out there, but it was one night and it was for a great cause. And, you know, it wasn't that deep. There's people out there all year round. So thank you to everyone who helped out. Glenn F is in the chat. Ryan Belmont says, a young lad coming to a new league with an evolving team, always going to need time to settle, and he's been fine since he came. I agree with that. I think that's a very sort of balanced and fair view of it. Young guy coming into a team. Let's not forget as well, playing at Manchester United is completely different than playing at Leipzig. It's not the same. It's not like, oh, well, he's sort of, he's used to being at a club of the size of Manchester United. He's used to being at a big club. Not saying Leipzig aren't a big club, but they're not remotely the same as Manchester United. The Premier League, for me, is a lot tougher than the Bundesliga. It just is. It's not even just for me. Let's look at the facts. Look at the players that go from the Bundesliga to the Premier League and how so many of them struggle because of the pace of it. Not everyone, but a lot of them do because the pace is a lot quicker in the Premier League. It's a lot tougher. Most of the best players in Europe play in the Premier League. Not all of them, I admit that, but a lot of them do because we've got the most money. So you're coming into a league where it's tougher. You've had a big signing fee and all the rest of it. There's expectation there. And I think he's done well. I do. And I think there's just been too many people who are overly keen to criticise him and question him. Please hit that like button, people, and get involved in the chats. Sorry, I've not seen your email, Glenn F. Well done for that sleep out. I will double check the emails. Let's talk about Casemiro. So it says here, Man United have unearthed the next Casemiro in green light for 44 million transfer. This is a little bit disingenuous, I think, from the Express, because it's Joao Gomes, who United have been apparently linked with and looking at, and he's obviously a talented player, and a sort that maybe Manchester United could get him in January, I think, with some of the reports that we were reading yesterday. I think there was a report in the Mail saying that he could he could be open to a move in January. There's also something in the Mirror this morning, I think, saying that Man United plot Joao Gomes transfers, gentleman's agreement for January transfer window emerges. So there's talk that maybe we could go in for him in January. Look, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if we're likely to bring in Joao Gomes at all, let alone in January. The £44 million has been mooted, as it says in that Express article as well, which isn't that excessive for a player of that quality. So you could see that making sense. I just don't know if Manchester United are going to sign anyone in January, unless it's like maybe a loan deal. We saw it, didn't we, from, I think, was it Rob Dawson yesterday, saying that he doesn't expect Manchester United to do any business in January. Now, I think the story here is basically saying that, in the Express was basically saying that Cunha, who's obviously played with him at Wolves and also, I imagine, for Brazil as well, rates him, I think, is the sort of the crux of it. Yeah, highly recommended by his Brazilian colleague, Matthijs Cunha. Yeah, I mean, look, he's a good player. You probably have him. Is he exactly what you need? Probably not exactly what we need, but a very good addition if we brought him in as a squad player and maybe, he does feature. However, what was that? Sorry, bring that back up. The 26-year-old revealed in an interview last July why he saw similarities between Gomes and United star Casemiro. Some similarities there. I think Casemiro's much better, in my own personal opinion, but you may disagree. Get involved in the chat in the comments. However, we'll have to wait and see what happens with this. Finally, under doubtful is what I'm going to say. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Real recognize is real. Doesn't think it's going to happen. Yeah, I'm sceptical about this one. And I think the whole, he's been given the green light. Yeah, Cunha rates him. Obviously, he's going to rate him as his countryman, his teammate for Brazil. I'd be very surprised if he didn't think he was any good, or if he came out in any way, shape or form and said he wasn't any good. So I think that's a little bit of mischief making there, just trying to get a bit of a headline out of it. We'll keep an eye on it. I doubt it is going to happen. Josh Bryant says 44 million for a Premier League player seems fishy. Phil Taylor says, Obi has been called into first team again. He's had a couple of great games for under-21s recently. I think Sesko is fine, but keep him on his toes. Casemiro and Cunha were excellent for Brazil. We've had some decent performances for the internationals, United internationals, over this break, haven't we? We'll get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about Elliot Anderson. Manchester United suffer transfer blow as Nottingham Forest make Elliot Anderson decision. England midfielder is also linked with a move to former club Newcastle ahead of the January transfer window. So the Evening Standard here say Manchester United might have to play the long game in their pursuit of Elliot Anderson. The 23-year-old midfielder is only in his second season with Forest, but he's caught the eye of many clubs. I mean, Newcastle want to buy him back apparently as well. However, it says, keep going, I think, was it when we get to the crux of it, no club will be able to prime away from the City Ground anytime soon, though. According to a new report in the Daily Telegraph, Forest are set to refuse any approaches for Anderson in the January transfer window. I don't expect us to get Elliot Anderson in January. Could happen in the summer. Very good player. Did well against us. We've spoken extensively about him. I don't think anyone will be moaning too much if we bought Elliot Anderson, but we won't be doing that in January. Potentially in the summer. Get involved in the chat and let me know what you think about Elliot Anderson. Would you have him? Would you have Joao Gomes? Would you have someone else? Who is top of your wish list? And do you think we'll get anyone in January? Doesn't feel like we will, but do you disagree? Heaven Soul says Forest might also get relegated, so he'll probably look to force a move. Yeah, I think they'll be all right with Sean Dyche, I think he'll keep them up. I think that was a good move by them. I think they did the right thing as well. Not in getting Postecoglou in, that was doomed, but going early and getting rid of him. I think, why wait? It wasn't happening there. It was an absolute car crash. And also, there was nothing for me in sort of Ange Postecoglou's locker where you go, he's the guy to get us out of this mess. Whereas with Sean Dyche, you look at it, you go, he probably can. And they have got decent players for us. There's a reason they finished quite high last season. They have got some good players, including Elliot Anderson. So we'll wait and see. But maybe they'll do it. Maybe they will do a Keno and get relegated and sell the best midfielder to Manchester United. Merchandise. I am wearing some. We have some available. There's a link in the chat, a pinned link in the chat. Christmas isn't that far away. Get your merch in. Lovely present for someone for Christmas, or even buy yourself a well-earned Christmas present. You've worked hard this year. You deserve it. Go and check the link in the chat. Loads of good stuff, high quality stuff, and it supports the channel. What more can you ask for? Let's talk about Semenyo. So, Antoine Semenyo, boost, but Ruben Amorim must act fast. So this came out last night that he signed a new contract with Bournemouth in the summer, but the Cherries have reportedly accepted that the forward could leave as soon as January. Now, I think he's got a £65 million release clause, which isn't that bad, really, for a player of that quality in the Premier League. He's 25 years old. He's about what you'd expect. He scores goals. I think he scored, was it about 15, 16 goals last season? Had a pretty decent record, similar to Matthijs Cunha's. And I think you're looking at mid-60s for a mid-20-year-old who's done bits in the Premier League. However, I don't know if United are going to look at him and bring him in, just with some of the other options we got and the priority being midfield. I would be quite surprised. I'd be very surprised if we brought him in January, but I'd be surprised if we brought him in the summer. He was linked with us, wasn't he, Antoine Semenyo, for quite a while. And he's one of those players that, you know that old saying, you don't if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. For a minute, Steve M says, if you don't buy a ticket, you lose the stream, lol. Wayne Lawton says, love Anderson, but going to be too steep to buy. Go get Joao Gomes as the legs and Wharton to clean up and spray passes. I love Semenyo, but midfield needs addressing first. Yep, I think you're right. I think we do. I think we do need to prioritise midfield. I mean, look, United might go turbo in the summer and buy Semenyo, buy midfielders, and just go absolutely do lally, but I doubt it. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments and hit that like button if you've not done so already. Let's talk about one of my favourite players, Matthijs De Ligt. There you go. We've got a tweet from Stretford Paddock. We know what we're on about. Matthijs De Ligt started for the Netherlands last night for the first time in 12 months, playing the full 90 minutes as they cruised to a 4-0 win over Lithuania and secured their 2026 World Cup qualification. 100% aerial duels, won 6 out of 6, 9 ball recoveries, 6 defensive actions, 88% passing accuracy, 1 penalty, 1 Ronald Koeman rewarded for seeing some sense. Yeah, been a bit weird, hasn't it, with De Ligt and the Dutch squad. Koeman was like slagging him off at one point last season, wasn't he? Blaming him for goals and all sorts, and Van Dijk kind of joined in. He can shut up, but De Ligt's back in the team, doing well, and he should be. He's one of the best defenders in Europe. Why would you not have him in your team? He's mint. I know they've got good options, the Netherlands, they have, but I still think he should start for him, and obviously Ronald Koeman now finally agrees, and he's doing very well. I'm going to leave it there. We've got Mark Critchley coming in today. Me, Joe, going to sit down with him, talk about his article as well. He's done a great article this week. Yeah, I think it was this week. And The Athletic, looking at the AFCON, which players Manchester United are going to lose, how long we're going to lose them for, how the all permutations, how it's going to work if, Cameroon go far or Ivory Coast go far or Morocco go far. So we'll be getting into all that and other bits and pieces as well. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.